everyone, and welcome back to Learning Lyonar. Today we're going to get right into the ladder because I haven't made any changes to the deck, and we're going to hop right in and see what kind of matches we can find. Okay, so versus Vitruvian, that's not too bad. Haven't put in as much time playing as I would have liked. Been having a pretty busy time lately at work and whatnot, but hopefully I'll be able to, like I was saying before, put in some time and really get some quality matches recorded for you guys, get higher up on the ladder, have some pretty strong decks to go up against. But starting off here, the Azurite Lion and the Azure Horn Shaman is a pretty good combo to start off with. If I can get that to proc onto the Azurite Lion, then I'll be in business. The Vitruvian General opening up with a Pyromancer, something is very, very problematic for Lyonar. Early game because they don't have a lot of reach, but with the Azurite Lion, I'm pretty sure that I'd be able to deal with it since I can just run all the way across the the field there to get to it. But luckily for me, that's not what happens. So my opponent just plays the Skyrock Golem, and we're gonna go right in here and see what we can find. The Healing Mystic here on my hand isn't too good, especially since I'm at full HP. But I was trying to mulligan for, something. I didn't need the Emerald Rejuvenator since I was already full health as well. I would hope for something like a Hailstone Golem. But you gotta do what you gotta do. My opponent here is just trading, which is the smart thing to do with the Azurite Lion. But he leaves the Azure Horn Shaman alive, which is good for me. I can take that mana tile, or I can just attack the enemy general to sort of prep it for next turn. So my opponent plays the Saberspine Tiger, which is pretty smart. He can just move it forward to kill the Azure Horn Shaman, and then his general can finish it off, and its effect won't proc on anything. But it would have been smarter for him to play it up there to take the mana tile and then kill it. But he actually moves backwards, so I think that maybe that was a mistake on his part. I don't know if he realized that he could have taken that mana tile, but I think that he just decided to back off defensively. I'm not sure, again, if that was intended or if he was just going to back off because he made a suboptimal play, which is kind of odd. Because he could have at least gotten the damage onto the Azure Horn Shaman, and the Saberspine Tiger would have survived it, and he could have got another attack off. That's pretty much the whole shebang, but whatever. He plays a more defensive style, so I'm just able to improve my board presence and move in. And do I want to Martyrdom that? Because he can just trade it into the Healing Mystic, but no, that's sort of a weak minion to play Martyrdom on. I'm not really too worried about it. Because again, I can just trade into the Saberspine Tiger if I want. And I can get up to, you can see here, I can get up to 5-6 this turn, so I can play the Hailstone Golem and then Martyrdom the Azure Horn Shaman to proc onto the Hailstone Golem and have a really beefy unit running around. But my opponent just plays the Repulsor Beast, which seems to be a misplay on his part. It only works on nearby units, so I think that maybe he forgot about that and wanted to relocate the Healing Mystic. But regardless, he just plays the Repulsor Beast up in the corner and trades into the Healing Mystic. So once again, the Azure Horn Shaman is left unscathed for a turn. So I can I can go ahead and since my opponent did trade the Saberspine Tiger and he just has a Repulsor Beast on the field, it's not really a threat to me. So what I can do instead is get up to 7 this turn. And then I can play the Hailstone Golem and the Silverguard Knight. And then that way next turn I can Martyrdom the Azure Horn Shaman to buff them both. So because my opponent doesn't have any pressure right now, then I can go for the greedy play. And also you saw earlier the Healing Mystic died. I had put the Lionheart Blessing onto it, hoping that I could draw a card when it finally died, but I forgot that the Lionheart Blessing gives them that effect when with Zeal. They have to be near your opponent when they attack to draw the card. So that was a big misplay on my part. The Healing Mystic was going to die regardless, and luckily the Lionheart Blessing doesn't cost anything, but I did miss out on a card, so that is unfortunate. And now that my opponent has the Bright Moss Golem, I don't really need that second Azure Horn Shaman. But right now I'm just going to drop my Goat Bomb here. I can move all of my units into position here to get buffed by it. I can summon the Windblade Adept and the Azurite Lion. And boom. The Goat Bomb. So I've got some pretty beefy units here, and they are now able to take a much bigger punch and a lot more punishment from the Bright Moss Golem, I mean. So I'll be able to finish that off for free pretty much. So my opponent's in a really bad situation here. I've got another Martyrdom, so had I held on to that Azure Horn Shaman, I could have gotten even more value, but this also allows me to deal with whatever large creatures he decides to play. If he has another Bright Moss Golem or anything like that, I can just kill it for free because he's still at full health. We're both still at full health, so using Martyrdom on my opponent's creatures isn't going to be a big deal for me. So my opponent decides to take out the Silverguard Knight, which is smart since it does have Provoke. But that just leaves me for free. And he corners himself, so this game is pretty much just me putting on the major pressure here. I can just move all of my creatures down into that corner to take him out. And so that's what I'm going to be looking to do next turn. And I do have the Lionheart Blessing now, so I can actually get some value out of it and remember to use it properly. And down comes the Pyromancer. He actually played that in a really bad spot. If he played it behind the Wind Strike, it still would have died to the Azurite Lion, which there really wasn't anywhere you could place it, but at least he played a body down for me to drop that 2 damage onto, I guess. And so, again, I'm going to play the Lionheart Blessing properly here, get the card draw. And the Wind Strike has a Dying Wish where my opponent will draw a card, but because his hand's already full, that card is just going to go to waste. The Azurite Lion can move all the way down now since it has Celerity and still drop that 2 damage onto the enemy general. So I'm going to hold on to the True Strike and the Martyrdom again in case he does play anything problematic. But as it stands right now, I'm just going to be able to move down into the corner and wail on him. And I'm going to have to mulligan. Now that I have some cards to work with, I can start replacing aggressively into a Divine Bond. And then really get some burst damage down. The Hailstone Golem is a 10 potential damage. And down comes another Repulsor Beast. So it looks like my opponent does know how to play them correctly. So maybe that was just a misplay before. Maybe he just wanted to get a body onto the board, something that he could, use. But again, it was most likely a mistake where he forgot that it needed to be nearby. Just like I forgot that I needed to be nearby for the Lionheart Blessing to proc earlier. So even if you've been playing a faction for a little bit and you're using all of your cards properly, so every once in a while you'll just forget about one little detail or effect. And right here is basically just the perfect opportunity for me to just take out that Saberspine Tiger. I don't need to worry about taking any free damage. Don't really need the Sundrop Elixir. I'm looking for a Divine Bond. There it is. So actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I could have replaced something else and then got the Sundrop Elixir Divine Bond combo to get even more damage here, but it's not really that big a deal. I have lethal on him next turn, so let's see. Maybe he has a third Repulsor Beast. He could Entropic Decay to kill the Hailstone Golem and then run. Maybe drop something with Provoke. Or perhaps Silhouette Tracer to get out of here. That's definitely something that Vitruvian does tend to run because it's a more defensive faction. But this low on the ladder, stuff like that is not what you'd normally see. even if you have silhouette tracers available to you, and you're just starting out, you generally aren't going to use them, just because they sort of facilitate a certain play style, whereas just general usefulness, moving around the map like that isn't going to do much for you at like low level play. Okay, so my opponent does have a Blood Tier Alchemist, which is another low-level card that you generally don't see, but it did come in handy in this situation. I was wondering how he was going to deal that last 1 damage, and he doesn't even try to move out of the corner, so that is unfortunate. I can Martyrdom, but I suppose it doesn't matter. Maybe replace something to try to get another Divine Bond. But I can just take out the Healing Mystic, True Strike the Blood Tier Alchemist. That way I can just move my general forward instead of having to attack it and summon the Pandora. That way my opponent's completely cornered now. Play the Queen Pandora to finish him off. She'll start summoning some units so I can get the rest of the damage I need. And this is looking like GG. Actually, yeah, I've got Lethal on the board and a Tempest in my hand. So I've got my opponent completely cornered. He can't Silhouette Tracer out. He'll have to Entropic Decay and run. Or Entropic Decay into 9 mana. Entropic Decay into Silhouette Tracer, I think, is a viable option. But Pandora's still doing a lot of work with these extra wolves that she's summoning. My opponent is basically just needs to concede defeat. But it doesn't look like that's what he's going to do, which I do have to commend him for. When I'm in a game and my opponent's kind of rushing me down and I'm on the ropes and you just want to salty concede, you know, sometimes you'd have to go, well, you know, my opponent played a really good game and he did get his pretty big shiny minions out, so I'll let him use them to finish me off, because that's part of the satisfaction, is playing the big creatures and then finishing off your opponent with them. So GG to my opponent here for letting me use Pandora to finish him off. And yeah, not a bad match. My opponent really didn't have a lot of pressure early, so I was just kind of able to build up my board and then move in for the kill. And he did corner himself. This is something that I've been seeing consistently lower on the ladder, is that my opponents will, instead of trying to play around my units and try to stay towards the center of the board or just off to the side, they tend to just get moved down into the corner. Oh, and Dev Emil, shout out to the devs here. I wonder if that's a real dev. I don't know if they like deny you selecting a name if it has the letters DEV in it like that, because he does have an underscore, so I think that counts. But also shout outs to the dev for adding that little tab there for the starter decks, so you have your own custom decks and the starter decks separated now. I know that was something that I saw requested on the forums a lot. So he opens up with Iridium Scale, which is pretty odd. And I don't really have anything that I can I want to hold on to this Martyrdom because of like Earthwalkers and things like that I can't really take care of easily. And so I'm just going to go for the greedy play here and summon the Azurite Lion. So I do have a Tempest now, which will be good. Rock Pulverizer, yikes. So I wasn't really too worried about the Iridium Scale because of the positioning of both generals. He wouldn't be able to reach me and the minion that I summoned, but he just plays Mana Burn on the Azurite Line and finishes it off, so that's kind of sucky for me. And I don't really want to play this this Tempest like that, because I'd still have to attack the Rock Pulverizer and stay in place. So what I'm going to do here is just Martyrdom it, where even though he gets put back up to full, I'll get to take another chunk off of his Iridium Scale before I have more creatures on the board for him to get any more value out of it. And here I can just Healing Mystic to bring myself up to full health. And so here, my opponent can take that top mana tile if he wants. This sort of puts him in a dilemma. Because I do have this minion standing right next to my general, he can choose to attack me or the Healing Mystic and get that extra 2 AoE damage off with the last charge of his Iridium Scale. or he can just retreat to get that mana tile and play a couple minions instead. So this is actually a pretty good situation that I've put him in, where you kind of want to play in a way that makes your opponent like question themselves and make some pretty hard decisions. With the Healing Mystic here, he can go for that mana tile below me if he moves down to the side, but then he's only proccing his Iridium Scale on 1 instead of 2, and so I still get that charge either way. I'm going to take that charge from him next turn, and it's just a matter of if he wants to, you know, give it up this turn or try to flee and improve his board position. So my opponent's just going to play Flash Reincarnation, which I guess is fine. Vindicator. Okay, so he is going to go for the more aggressive play here. And that allows him to get around the Healing Mystic to summon... Ooh, this is a really strong play. Primordial Gazer will rebuff the Vindicator out of Flash Reincarnation's damage. And then it has Rush so that he can finish off the Healing Mystic. And he gets to proc his Scale on both of us. And then the Vindicator has Rush itself, so it just gets to do whatever it wants. Man, that was a really strong play from him. That he got to have his cake and eat it too. So here I do want to take out that Vindicator. So I'm going to first take this mana tile, and I have the Tempest, so I can just take out that Vindicator. And so let's go ahead and wait. I want to. So that was a huge misplay on my part. I needed to play the Tempest to take out that Vindicator, but I played the Windblade Adept first for some reason. Oh lord. I don't even have the proper emotes for the anguish that I feel right now. So last game I played the Lionheart Blessing incorrectly, and in this game I played the Tempest incorrectly. So that's really going to screw me. I took out the Vindicator at least, but man, having that Windblade Adept on the field just now would have been really great, because I could have played the Tempest, then Windblade Adept. Oi. So my opponent's really punishing me now. With Murkblood Devourer and the Kujata, his minions are reduced in cost, and they get buffed when they're summoned. So I don't need Pandora right now. And having that Tempest right now, actually, if I would have waited a turn, would have actually been perfect. But, so I'm going to play the Twilight Sorcerer, and I don't get the Tempest. I get another Martyrdom. And as it stands right now, I think that taking out the Kujata is the correct play instead of the Murkblood Devourer. Because I'd rather him have stronger minions than more minions. I suppose it's really the same thing, but the way Magmar's minions work, they're generally very expensive, so I don't want him to have like a bunch of creatures. And actually, based on what I'm seeing now, he's running like a low-cost Swarm deck with the Murkblood Devourer, so that was probably the better one to take out, because the Kujata makes your creatures take damage when they come onto the field. Yeah, so I'm getting punished even more. I made the wrong choice. I gotta learn to read my opponent's deck a bit better. And I just healed up with the Sundrop Elixirs, as you saw, because I'm kind of getting pushed back now. And when there's nothing better to do, you might as well just heal 10 damage for free, because Sundrop Elixir is completely balanced, and don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. So we're going to move up here and play the Dancing Blade to take out the Repulsor Beast. Since, you know, it does the 3 damage, and I can just take out those creatures right now when I have the chance. I'm going to take that 4 HP right to the face like a man and True Strike that Sword of Mechazor. And I need to get at the Murkblood Devourer, but he's like body blocking me really well. I would have liked to play the Dancing Blade on it, honestly. And down comes another Repulsor Beast. It gets buffed by the Murkblood Devourer. Moves the Dancing Blade out of the way. Lord. Oh, and here comes the Claw. I'm so glad the Claw was nerfed. But that is like... That's really bad for me right now. Because I need to take out this Merkblood Devourer. Because that's really what's screwing me over, I think. But I'm forced to retreat. And just summon some big creatures here. And since, again, I do have the damage available, I might as well use it on this Repulsor Beast here. That's 3 damage that I'm not going to have to deal with next turn. And so even though my opponent has claws, I still have some pretty fat units to take advantage of this Divine Bond. So if he can't deal with these creatures this turn, then I'll be able to take him out next turn. I have a lot of really good damage on the board right now, and a lot of big targets that can absorb Claw's charges. My opponent only has 3 cards in his hand, and oh god, here comes the Mercantor War Beast in Greater Fortitude. And he's going to chunk me really hard here. Whew, but I live. And he takes out the Hailstone Golem. He's down to 9. And the Twilight Sorcerer is going to be able to finish him off. Oh, well played, sir. Oh, yep, there's the emote. He knows. He knows. Oh, man, here comes the Divine Bond. 9 HP. Hanging on by the skin of my teeth. Oh, man, well played, sir. That was an excellent match. Got to tip him 5 gold, and I'll add him, because normally I don't add people, but I have to add him just so that I can tell him GG. So, hang on a sec. We'll see if he accepts. I'll count to 5. Hopefully I'll be able to tell him, good game. There we go. GG. And, I wonder if he's really a dev. I'm pretty sure he is. So, shout outs to the devs for giving me that good game. Showing me how it's done. GG, sir. And, hopefully that sets me up to, for a really nice win streak going here into the Grind Fest. Going to try to climb the ladder. Get you guys some higher quality matches against some stronger decks. And hopefully I'll be able to get some grinding done in the meantime and climb the ladder. And that's where we'll pick up next time. See you then. Have a good one.